Hi everybody. In a previous video you watched me create this design, and now I'm going to quickly separate it for you in CorelDRAW. This is Thomas Trimmingham at screenprintingartist.com, and don't forget to subscribe. So let's go ahead and separate this. Now when we're going to separate a design like this, we have a lot of power clips on this design with a lot of textures embedded in those power clips. So depending on your computer's ability, there's various ways of doing this. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to try to rapidly do this because, as we know, production art is time that you usually don't get paid for. So you got to do it quick. 13 by 18 will create a custom page. I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be my separation page. I'm going to go ahead and make a background here. Let's just go ahead and make a background roughly the size of the page. And then we'll go ahead and grab this design here. Actually, I'll just select all, Control A, Control C, copy it. I'm going to go to this new page. I'm going to paste it, Control V, and then I'm going to use my eyedropper tool to fill the background with the color of the shirt. And I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to have this actual size. I'm going to go ahead and center this on the page by hitting the P key, and I'm going to go down here. See, there's a black outline. I just don't want to get rid of any outlines when I make a separation set. Now I'm going to go to Control Shift S, which is Save As. Let's go ahead and just name it real quick. Vintage Seps. I always say Seps when I'm creating separations, just so I can differentiate the file that actually has the shirt design in it and the one that has the Seps design in it. Now for memory usage, I'm going to go ahead and just close my vintage shirt style. I'm just going to go ahead and close that so it'll spare some memory for us. That way we won't have to run both loads of textures on this thing. It takes a little while because, like I said, there's a lot of textures in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge this, so I'll make sure it's grouped. It's ungrouped, and you'll notice this has been resized already, so it's at 48.2%. I'm going to ungroup it, Control U, and then Control G and regroup it so it'll start at 100%. That way I can change my percentage here because it was at 44, and if I change the percentage it might get wonky. So I'm going to make sure this is locked in a lock ratio. See how it's roughly a square, 3.3 and 3.3? So I can pretty much just go one dimension, go to 12.5, and that'll be a full-size image. And then I can hit the P key again, and that centers it to the page. Okay? And then we're going to go ahead and hit Control S to save it. And now we have the front page of our separation set. I usually leave the front page as a reference with the live active design in shapes. So Alt VW. You can see this is a wireframe mode, and you see how it's vector shapes. I'm going to leave this as vector shapes on the front page. I hit Alt VE to go back, and now I'm going to Control A and Control C, and I'm going to create the pages for my separations. Now in this case, since I want to print only on this gray shirt, I'm not going to go on other shirts. I am going to separate this design into essentially black and white. Now I am going to make two whites because it'll be a softer print. So I'm going to make an underbase white, and then I'm going to make a highlight white. And then I'm just going to have the black and have the black broken almost out to the gray here to create this kind of feathered tone. Okay? So essentially it'll be three separations I need. There'll be a white, a highlight white, and then a black. And it'll be printed in that order. So I'm going to make those pages 1, 2, 3, and I'll make 3 separate additional pages. And then so I start with my first page, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my separation over. I'm not going to use the background. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my second page, and I'm going to paste it. And then what I need now is crosshairs. So I save my file, Control S, and now depending on how you work in CorelDRAW, there's a couple different things you can do. One way to do it is Control I, and I actually have on my desktop ready to go. I actually have a crosshair file that I save and I leave on my desktop. So I import it, and then I hit the Enter key, and you notice it pops in crosshairs and a center line right in my design. It happens to be set for 13 by 18. So I was fortunate that it works in this file. And then what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to change these. You can see how these are all set for different colors and whatnot. So what I'm going to change is this. I'm going to ungroup it, and then I'm going to go in here. I'm going to select all of it, and then I'm just going to deselect this color and that color. And I'm going to delete the rest, and then I just need a white underbase. I'm going to drag it, click that, and then I hit Control Shift T. I'm going to go highlight white, and I leave them connected just because If I have to break them apart or move them around, it's easier if they're on separate pieces. And then I've got highlight, white, and black. Now I'm going to go to wireframe mode just to make sure. Okay, they don't have any extra pieces. So there we go, forward and back. And then I'm going to zip over here. I'm going to save my file again. And then now I am going to modify this center of this image. Okay, now once you have this page done, then you can easily start to do your other pages. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to adjust the center page. Now since this is all these power clips and they're clipped into these vector shapes, I'm going to simplify this and I'm going to convert it all to a bitmap. And I'm going to convert it to grayscale bitmap, and I'm going to convert it to 600 dpi, which seems kind of high, and I'm going to leave the background transparent because it'll make it easier to modify. And then I'll go ahead and save it. And it doesn't really look like anything changed, but what it did change to, as you'll see if you zoom in, if I go to wireframe mode now, you're just going to see this kind of grayed out box, whereas before it was all the pieces. And this is going to make it easier for me to separate this design. Now, some people get concerned that converting it to a grayscale is going to affect your edge quality. It may slightly, but at 600 dpi it gives me two advantages. One is it's pretty high resolution, as high or higher than most film output printers. The second advantage is I can do the no rip halftones on it, because the 600 dpi is high enough for me to convert decent halftone dots that will retain their image inside of CorelDRAW without adding a rip. So that has the added advantage. And you can also simulate things, and I'll show you how to do that after we're done separating. So if that doesn't all make sense, it will in a minute. So I'm going to copy this. Now I'm going to copy this duplicate page that I made, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste it here. Control V, and then I'll paste it one more time, and then Control V. And then this will be my black one, so I don't need these two. Alright, and then this one will be my highlight white, so I don't need those two colors. And then this one will be my underbase white. And then I can save it. And now I'm just going to modify these. And what I'm going to do in CorelDRAW, this takes a little bit of finesse, but it's not that hard. You can use this eyedropper tool and you can kind of see where your gray values are at when you hover over. See, it says gray 37. You want your gray to be like 0 for your darkest area of your gray. So I'm going to have to tweak this a little bit, this value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Effects, I'm going to go in the Effects, Adjust, and then I'm going to hit Tone Curve. And you'll see that what I'll do is here. So what I'll do is I'm going to, since this is white, let me hit cancel here. This one, since I'm on the first page, this is going to be an underbase white. So what I'm going to do essentially is first I'm going to invert this. So I'm going to go Effects, I'm going to go down to Transform, and I want to invert the colors, but I got to be clicked on. See, it didn't give me that option because I wasn't clicked on the bitmap. So I got to go Effects, Transform, and now Invert Colors. And now everything, since it's transparent, it doesn't do the background too, and everything that's in the file that was black becomes, or white becomes black, and vice versa. But you can see there's still some gray values here, and we don't want to print white there, so we need to hit it with the tone curve here. So I'm going to adjust, I'm going to hit Tone Curve, and I'm going to bring this up. And what I want to do is I'm going to make my black area solid black, or relatively so. So I'm going to make that, and then I want to drag this over to where it knocks out my white areas. I'm going to go a little farther than 50%, and then I kind of make a ski slope because it'll ease. And the reason that you can, it may look like it's a little bit too distressed here, but you'll see when you okay, so once you get this slope kind of done, you'll notice there's a lot more modulation here, but that's okay because there's a tendency when white prints to fill in, and you get what's called dot gain. So we're going to go ahead and leave it there. And even though that feels a little bit light, I'm going to undo it just to see. Control Z undoes it, and then Control Shift Z redoes it. So it looks pretty good. Okay, and then we're going to take this one, and you can see a neat little trick here. Since I've already made my This is my underbase white. I'm going to click it. And you can check too if you're worried that there's like a gray value still here. You can take your eyedropper tool and just see if you get any, see if you get any clips. It's 255 and I don't see any here. If I saw that 255 number move up, then I would know that there's some haze there that I gotta get rid of. Now I'm going to take this file. You can see here where that is. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I just wanted that there for reference. And I'm going to take my white, Control C, click here, Control V, and then I'm going to hit this one more time. Now, before I pull open my tone curve, it's going to hold the same tone curve. So I want to convert this to a bitmap again, and what that'll do is that'll delete the tone curve effect from here, and I can restart the tone curve. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to squeeze it another time. So I'm going to go adjust tone curve, and you'll notice I'm going to reset it, and you'll notice coming from here I'm going to click and I'm going to drive it all the way over here because I want to knock out almost all the gray. See that? Like that. And so I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to go ahead and save the file. And now this will only be the areas that'll be solid white on the highlight white, and so the under ones will be the ones that kind of create gray on the shirt. See? And then I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to go do my black now. And my black is a little trickier because I want to save this black here, but I want to kind of open up this tone here, because if I print this as a solid black plate just the way it is, this will be way too grainy in here, and this will gain and become solid black. So what I want to do, and then this won't really be solid black, but the whole thing will be kind of a blob. So here I'm going to show you how to tweak this real quick, and this is how you're using the tone curve. So I click on it, and then Effects, Adjust, and then we'll go to Tone Curve, and I'm going to reset it, right, because I don't want to have that weird tone curve there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken this up. So I'm going to grab it right about here and drag it down, and that'll make it solid black. But you see how that's solid? And I don't want it to be solid, so I'm going to actually take this tone and I'm going to go up to here, and you'll see how it I'm going to drag this down to the mid-tone, and it'll look a little wacky, but I'll get it straightened out here. I'll bring this back up and go over here, and this is expanding my white point so there's not too much white, and then I'll kind of bring this down to here. And then what we want to do, we're going to monkey with this a little bit and see if we want to get that gray value back in here. So I'm going to bring this over just a little bit. See how it came back in? I need to move that over just a little bit, and then I'm going to open it up and make it brighter. I want to keep this solid black, but I want to open this up a lot more because otherwise it's going to be solid black. Let me just move this over to where it's right here, and then this. And you can see what you do want, like a ski slope, because that gives you the smoothest separation. Now I want to knock out a lot of that black that's too gritty up in here, so I'm going to drag this over because I don't want too much black, otherwise it'll make the design look gritty. And so you end up with a ski slope that's kind of like this. Now this might be too dark up in here, so I might need to really kind of create more of an arc here, drag this over, and you can even put another placeholder here if you want it to be smoother of a graduation. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And you see how there's some grittiness here. Now I'm going to check with the eyedropper tool, just make sure that this is a solid black. Yes, see where it's 0, so that's good, 0. And then you check up in here if there's any haze. Doesn't look like there is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save the file, Control S, and then and it's important that we're just doing this to bitmap. We're leaving the crosshairs as vector items, so otherwise they can get gritty or weird. And I've got black, I've got highlight white, and then regular white. And now I'm going to save the file like I did, and now I'm going to make one extra page. I'm going to say insert page after. I'm going to go back to my front page. I'm going to grab this gray, and I'm just going to test these steps real quick. I'm going to go back to here, I'm going to fill it, and then I'm going to go back to each one of these steps and convert them to halftones. I'm going to pretend I don't have a rip. Maybe I just want to print these on laser film or something without dots. And so I'm just going to go ahead and check this real quick, and the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to click here, and we already know it's 600 by 600 DPI grayscale, and I just go bitmap, and I go mode, I'm going to go black and white. And so I'm going to force it black and white. So anything that's gray in this image is going to be forced to black and white. Don't mind the fact that this is black, because it's just, interpreting the background as clear and making it black. I'm going to go to halftone. And now when I go to halftone, I can put in a halftone approximately what I think will hold on the screen. Alright, now depending on the mesh that you're using, you want to make a halftone that is 3 to 3 times less than your screen mesh. So in other words, if I have a screen mesh that's 180, I want to divide that by 3, and you can see that I need a halftone of less than 55. And generally a good halftone that's pretty safe for like a 180 mesh would be like a 42.7 or 43. So I'm going to leave it at 43. And I'm going to go 22 degrees, because if I go 45 degrees, it might moray with the screen mesh, or if I go 0 or I go 90. 22 is kind of a good angle, and so is 60. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert this. I'm going to say OK. And you see, boom, and it converts it all. Now, one little thing right away, you can see how there's these little edges here? I don't want that, so I'm going to hit Control Z, and I'm just going to bump this one more time. I'm going to go Bitmap, convert to Bitmap. I'm going to say OK, just to reconvert it, and then I can go back and hit Adjust Tone Curve, and then all I'm going to do is nudge it. I'm going to reset it, and I'm just nudge it just over a hair with that top. All I'm doing is nudging it one more time, and I don't even want the top edge of this to be taken too much out, but I'm nudging it over just to trim that, and then I'll go Bitmap Mode, black and white, and it should hold the value that I inputted first when I did it, and should convert it to, yep, halftone 4322. I'll say OK. And now you notice there's no ghosted little line there, so I just needed to nudge it one extra little bit to get rid of that line. And then I'm going to go to the next one. That was my underbase white, and now here's my highlight white, right? And I'll go Bitmap Mode, black and white, halftone, yes, yes. Now I got it square, and I might want to go to round. So let me cancel this. Let me go back here. That's a wonderful thing about the undo button in Corel. I went square, and I might want to go round. Let's just go round, just to be sure. So you can use both. It's not that big of a difference, but sometimes it's better to use round. So we'll go ahead and do that. Halftone instead of square. Let me click this right here and go. Let's go round. It'll take a second to kind of convert that. There it goes, round, and I'll just say OK. And you probably won't see much of a difference here, but if you zoomed in, you could probably see they're a little rounder. You see that? OK. And then we'll go back out, and then let's go to the next one. Same thing. See, this is a grayscale bitmap, 600 dpi. I'm going to go ahead and go Bitmap Mode. Let's go ahead and finish this up real quick, and you can show you how to kind of mock it up real quick. Here, halftone round, yes. Say OK. Converted it, and then I do my last one, which is black. Go Bitmap Mode, black and white. Here we go, halftone. Make sure it's round, 43. Yes. Click OK. There. And now I'm going to save this, because those steps can be output right now to your output device, but we're going to check them first, and here's how you check them. I'm going to go back, I'm going to grab this first one, copy it, I'm going to paste it in as an underbase. Now it comes in, you see that white background, you just hit nothing on that white background. So you're basically hitting left click, and then I'm going to put what a white would look like with no underbase on this gray, which is probably like this. You know, one of these. So it'd be a little dingy because it wouldn't be a perfect white. So it'd probably look like that on that gray. It might be a little brighter than that, but not much, right? Because you'd have a little fibrillation with that gray coming through. And so this is what the print would look like with that. Now again, remember, there's going to be some gain because these half-toned areas are going to fill in a little bit, especially as you print for a little bit. So it won't be quite as gritty as this. And then we go back and we grab, instead of the highlight white, we're going to grab the next color, or I'm sorry, instead of the underbase white, we're going to grab the highlight. So copy that, Control C, go back to the final page. We're going to Control V. It'll come in with that fill, say no fill, and then we'll go white on this one, fill it with white, and this is what it looks like with the highlight white on top. And so that's kind of, here I can delete it so I can show you without and then with right there. And then the last one is we add the black, and we just kind of want to see what these colors with the halftone dots actually look like stacked. So it'll give us a simulation of actually what this will look like. And then again, paste it in there, no fill, and then I'll go ahead and left click and then fill it with black. And then here's a simulation of what those separations with dots actually looks like. And you could, if you wanted to, convert this whole thing to a grayscale and send it to your client and say, this is what it's going to look like with halftone dots. And I would modify this file a little bit for dot gain. So I'd push the mid-tone up a little bit. And that's a way to simulate this. So I'm going to delete this page. And then my SEPs are right now are ready to go. These could be output directly to film. And when I output them, I would just print them out. You don't need a rip because these are already halftone dots, and I just wouldn't print the first page. So I just Control P, make sure it goes to your film printer, make sure the density is right on your film printer, and then you print pages 2, 3, and 4. And I hope that's a good way to do SEPs for you guys. You can do it other ways, but this way is a nice way to give yourself both the quick way to compress that those graphics and those textures into the plates, and then also separate them relatively quickly using tone curve in CorelDRAW. And yeah, just let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe.